Go.
Well, it's that time. It's 2 hours, 2.5 hours and counting. It is Rafael Nadal versus Casper Ruud in the final of the French Open. After 2 weeks of intense drama, whether we did not know every match that Nadal was playing, was it his last? Was it going to be? Would he reach the semi-final? Because basically he's playing on one leg,
Yeah.
if I may have to say. And now he's on the cusp of a 14th French Open title. That number itself, when we say, it's staggering, beyond imagination. But standing in his path is his, you can say,
Protege.
student,
Yeah.
protege. Can the student upset the guru? Because it's Casper Ruud versus Rafael Nadal. Equation's pretty simple. If Nadal wins, not only is it his 14th French Open title, but it is also a 22nd major Grand Slam title. That puts him level with Steffi Graf in the all-time list. Only Serena Williams and Margaret Court ahead.
Right.
But Casper Ruud, first Norwegian to ever make it to the finals of an Open era, and also his father was a pro tennis
Christian
player,
Ruud, yes.
Christian Ruud. But he's also been training in Rafa Nadal's
So
academy.
he's not only, in fact, trained in Rafael Nadal's academy. In an interview, he's also said that he grew up idolizing Nadal, and that when he was young, he tried to copy Nadal's style of play. Later on, he realized that's probably not the best thing to do because Nadal had such a physical style of play that it could be demanding, and Ruud is not built like Nadal. I mean, he's just about 6 foot. His game does revolve around, obviously, good forehand, lot of top spin, works very well on clay courts, but his game is not as power dependent as Nadal's. In fact, that's why he's in fact seen as something of a clay specialist, because his game, especially with the kind of top spin he generates or the kind of forehand he has, suits clay courts very well. On what do you call hard courts, as he says, people can outpower me.
Yep.
So his game is not about power. And yes, Saraj Chandra, he does have more wins in clay over the past year. In fact, if you look at just his his career record, there's two things that really stand out. One is he's only had success in mostly in the ATP 250s.
Yep.
Second is that of those 8 titles which he's won, 7 have been on clay. There's only been one which has been on hard court.
Hard
So this
courts,
guy
yeah.
is built for clay court tennis, and in fact that's become something of a joke, because I mean he's been the butt of jokes from Nick Kyrgios on Twitter, because Kyrgios has often said, "What is the point of having these many clay court tournaments?" and stuff like that. But he's generally taken it in good stride, and he's
Yes.
also been very quietly impressive. Remember, he was and I'll have to check this, but he was close to making, or he did in fact make the ATP finals last year. I'll have
Yeah.
to double check that.
That
If he
title was
there.
won by the guy who painfully crashed out in the semi-final last year. Alexander Zverev won
Yes.
the title by beating Daniil Medvedev. But one more surprise factor, the element of surprise which Casper Ruud can give, is first time. This is the first time ever that Casper Ruud and Rafael Nadal are squaring off.
Yeah.
And what an occasion to do it in the final of a Grand Slam. And Kyrgios, well, there are not very favorable comments on Kyrgios, by
On
the
Nick,
way.
but he's a bit of an entertainer, and he's
A
someone who's
polarizing factor.
yeah, and yeah, he's a character. So people will either take it or leave it with
Yeah.
him. More often than not, people tend to leave it, but he does have his fans. Let's be
So
fair.
what goes against Ruud? Nadal's total dominance at the French Open. Every time he's reached the final, this is the only Grand Slam where Rafael Nadal has never lost in the final.
Yeah.
13 straight wins when he's reached the final. On top of that, 3 losses in just 16 years.
Yeah.
What can you do with that kind of a record?
Absolutely.
So Casper Ruud is the underdog. It's the classic David versus Goliath battle. Does Ruud have the capability to upstage Nadal, that too on his own turf? Philip Chatrier might soon be renamed to quote Rafael Nadal. Even the Grand Slam might be renamed the Rafael Nadal Grand Slam, because nobody, if he wins 14, I don't think anybody is close enough to even match that, let
Yeah.
alone come near it.
Exactly. But if you're looking at it from Casper Ruud's perspective, there's 2 things you have to prove. One is, of course, if you are touted as a clay court specialist and you can have even a good showing against Nadal, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's his first Grand Slam final. Really, the pressure won't be on him as much as it will be on Nadal. Because with Nadal, I mean, of course, there'll not be that much pressure on Nadal either. But again, Nadal, everyone is expecting to win.
Yes.
With Ruud, very few have given him a chance, and quite understandably so. I mean, he's in his first Grand Slam final. Nadal's won, what, 13 of them, 13 French Opens. So there's really no this thing. But, for Ruud, there's two things which he has to focus on. One is how well he does here. Second, unfortunately, he has fallen victim to an age-old tennis debate, which is, of course, termed as vulturing. Now, if you're wondering what vulturing is, it's basically what happens when, because the tennis tour is year-long, it's round the calendar, and you're not just competing in Grand Slams. Obviously, you're competing in ATP 250s, 500s, the Masters, which are thousands. You're competing in a lot of tournaments. So, oftentimes, what happens is that many players, what they will do is they will specifically target certain tournaments which are to their strength. So if they are, say, higher ranked, they might just play at a 250, win it easily, get the ranking points. Someone like Ruud has been accused of that. That is termed vulturing, where you'll enter smaller tournaments, boost your ranking points, and then shoot up the rankings. Ruud has been accused of that. I don't think it's a fair argument because he's basically picked what would be his strengths, and he's clearly better suited to clay than almost any other surface. But if he can have a good showing against someone like Nadal, who's the king of clay, unquestionably, even a Nadal on one leg, if he can have a good showing against, it will do wonders for him. It will show people that, yeah, he's a serious prospect in that so-called next gen, where, of course, people like Zverev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, I mean, have already come close and are already seen as on the cusp of greatness. Someone even like, of course, Yannick Sinner, I have to mention. But someone like Ruud has made a final for the first time. He'd want to have a good showing.
I mean, it's like the passing of the torch. Like we all say, this is the era when the big three, possibly one or two of them might fade away in the next year. One of them definitely might. And then you need the younger generation to step up. I mean, the passing of the torch movement has been touted as Pete Sampras losing to Roger Federer in the fourth round at 2001 Wimbledon.
Yeah.
That was touted as, okay, Federer is now ready to take over the mantle from Sampras.
Correct.
If Ruud beats Nadal, will this be higher than how Medvedev defeated Djokovic? Will that be higher? Because Djokovic, Nadal and Federer have dominated for close to 2 decades now. Starting with Federer, middle period of Nadal and then Djokovic together. So I think Sarachan is saying time for Tsitsipas to win a Grand Slam. Well, that might happen. If Ruud wins the French Open, then it is, you can call it the passing of the torch moment. Others then, if they step up, if Tsitsipas wins Wimbledon, US Open. US Open, by the way, has been won by the unfancied trio of the younger generation quite often.
Yeah.
If they win Australia, Wimbledon, French now, then you can say, yes, the big three era is over. The younger generation ready to step in. So will Ruud give a Ruud shock to Nadal?
I mean, it would be a Ruud shock indeed if he wins, because as much as I would like to see, I think the best case scenario for Ruud is that he has a good showing.
Yes.
Maybe win a set, take Nadal to the extreme in 1 or 2 of the sets. I think that would be the best case scenario for him. But of course, remember, Ruud is the kind of player who has pretty much, so far at least, made a career out of defying expectations.
Yes.
For one, no one expected a player from Norway of all places to be in the top 10 rank of the rankings. Currently, he's 6th. And as I was mentioning, he did in fact also make it to the ATP finals. He made it to the ATP final 2021. He made it to the semis.
Wow.
So and by the way, he was part of the first 8. He wasn't even the alternate. So he qualified for it on the merit of his ranking, which is saying something.
Nice.
So again, he's that someone who, for me, I think there are 3 of the younger players who are kind of creeping up and who probably don't have as much hype about them. He's one. The other is, of course, Denis Shapovalov from Canada. And the third for me is Yannick Sinner of Italy. Again, he's young. He's not had much junior tennis, but he's taken to senior tennis like a fish to water. So I'm personally very excited to see how Ruud does again. And mind you, when it comes to this tournament so far, we've not seen Nadal tested. I think arguably the first match where I really saw him tested, even against Djokovic. Djokovic took him to the limit at times, but I don't think we had any doubts Nadal was winning. Was against
Zverev. Also, I may say the Aliassime match, Felix Auger-Aliassime
match. Felix
match.
also really managed to take it to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Nadal has spent a lot of time on the court.
And that will be the key, I think, for Ruud. He has to take this game long.
But then there's also a problem with if you take it long. Remember 2022 Australian Open. Medvedev was up 2 sets. But you took it long. It gives Nadal that extra advantage. I think the plan of taking the game deep does not work with Rafael
Then
Nadal.
I think it's if as you say, taking it deep is not an option, then I think first set he has to come out all guns blazing.
All guns blazing.
But
Yes.
the problem with that is that Nadal, generally when he loses one set, will almost unequivocally go on to win the next three.
Remember, he doesn't give up. Rafael Nadal will not give up.
It's an elite mentality. Absolutely elite.
Absolutely. Beast mentality, I would
Yeah.
say. He lost 2 sets in the Australian Open final, but what did he do? He
turned
staged an
it around.
epic comeback.
I know.
And here, Zverev pushed him to the limit. But then look at Nadal. The ace that Nadal has is not only the top spin, not only the serve and accuracy. Whatever angles, he can just reach the ball. You can't get a ball past him in this service.
Exactly. And not just that, it's not just the fact that you can't get it past him, it's that he will hit you with such a return that you can be in the best of positions and it doesn't matter. He'll just about get it to kiss the line. His pass shots, I've noticed this is a tactic that Federer used to try against him in the early days, is that he would go serve volley.
Serve volley, yeah.
He would go serve volley and then Nadal would hit passing shots which no one thought would be possible, and he still has that ability. Against Zverev as well, he was hitting not just passing shots of the forehand towards the left angle, but he was angling it across court
also,
and getting pass shots, and I'm like, how does this guy do it? So it's not easy to win points against him, but of course, if you're saying, taking it long, you're right. I think the likes of Djokovic and Nadal are mentality monsters.
Exactly.
So taking it long is not the solution. I think if you're Ruud, you would look to go all guns blazing in that first set. Maybe even try taking it to a tie break. Do what Federer would always do. Get it to a tie break.
Yeah, but Federer would win on a tie break. Others don't have that Federer mentality because Nadal breaks you down systematically as the game progresses. So the question was asked as to the prediction. I will say Nadal is winning it in 3. I don't think it is going to a 5th setter.
I don't see it. If it goes to a 5th setter, big compliments to Ruud. Because my God.
That will be. So my prediction is Rafa Nadal is doing it. 14th French Open, 22nd Major Slam overall.
Yeah.
Ruud might give a good thing, but it will not be like how Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff. It was a very one-sided.
That was a one-sided final, to say the
I
least.
think this might not be a one-sided final, but I'm saying Nadal is going to.
I think I'll go for an upset this thing in the sense, not necessarily for the result. But I think it'll go 4 sets. I think he'll get either the first or second set, but Nadal will win the championship.
Yes, Nadal is winning it. So unanimous that Rafael Nadal is going to cement his reputation as the emperor of clay, not the king of clay anymore. And 14 Grand Slam titles. Oof, staggering, just in one.
14 French Open titles, not even madness.
So join us for that, folks.
Yeah, we will be covering that one live too, and of course England are most likely winning the first test.
Yes, they
so
are.
So we'll see you in a few for that as well. Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.